Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of Coach Caris, Itchy Bitchy and guests. Hi Ailsa.
Hello, I'm the guest in the spare room.
Ailsa. Ailsa. Yes, we are in my spare room, look at my office. I've got the washing in the background. I've got the spare bed. A Jasper's floating about somewhere. Anyway, Ailsa has very kindly agreed to come on and chat about part 2 of her journey with giving up alcohol. So we had part 1 as a live podcast, which was in front of a live studio audience, shall we say. Yeah, and it was very good, but there was loads of feedback, there was loads of interaction, and there was just loads of interest.
Yeah.
Do you not think about giving up? Yeah, so we were speaking about Ailsa giving up alcohol. So you've been how many years sober?
So it was the 1st of December 2018, so it was 7 years in December. Wow. So we're rolling on in the 7th year of no drinking, no smoking. Because the two were at the same time.
Of course,
the drink was the main one because it changes your actual life so much. Obviously, loads of benefits of giving up smoking as well.
Yeah, but it's not so intrusive.
Yeah, it's more physical benefits that you notice and feel. Whereas with alcohol, it's been like a whole entire shift of everything about my life that's been able to happen over that last 7 years has come from that decision. That some of the reading I've done, they speak about sober being like accumulative, like it's something that the benefits from it build and grow over time. So obviously anyone who's drank to excess, day one of being sober's not a very fun day because you're hanging and you're in a horrible physical state and mental state, and so day one's never going to be full of joy. But as time goes on, as you get to day 7, day 14, there's all these different points at which your body is doing what it should do, which is getting that balance back, seeking equilibrium. But over time, gradually, I do just look at my life and think there's things that have happened and things I'm able to do now that would never
have been able to do.
No.
I think as well, when you give up anything to start with, this is maybe just me, but I think you might agree with me. Do you not think that all you're focused on is what you've given up? All you're focused on is what, do you know what I mean? Well, I can't have a drink anymore. Whereas the fact that you can't have a drink anymore brings so many more benefits, but it's too difficult to see at the beginning because all you're focusing on.
I remember like the first, because quite quickly, I think I'm lucky in that the reading I did and the podcasts I listened to, and probably just lucky in terms of how I think as a person and how I was brought up or whatever, that I did quite quickly get the shift about the gains and not see it as a deficit but asset, and I quite quickly got excited about the I am sober, I don't drink, that type of thing. I got into it, you know. But for the first 4 weeks, obviously, my one job was don't drink, don't smoke. So it was that like negatively slanted, like you've got one job, don't drink, don't smoke, you can pretty much do anything else, was the sort of deal with myself. So I ate everything and I ordered everything online.
Of course you did. Oh, shopping, shopping addiction. Was that boredom?
No.
Or were you trying to
dopamine
replace?
Because I actually weirdly was never bored, and in the beginning I still socialised the same way, but that didn't sustain. So I remember, because it was the 1st of December, so there was stuff going on that month. The 14th of December was the first night out, so I got my makeup done, I got all dressed up and all, and went out, and it was meal, and then I went down to what was Rialto to meet like my husband, and he was on his works night out, and I was out till like 3 a.m. I was driving folk about, still totally socialising. At one point I was dancing. It wasn't like I didn't have a shit night, but that didn't last long, the staying up that late, because when you're sober you realise that you're tired. And there was and
everybody else is drunk and it's awful.
That was actually an all night night, because there's a couple of folk weren't excessive drinkers, so I was having quite a laugh. But that's staying up, and that New Year I was up to yawn time and had a good night, etc. But it's no boredom, but what was happening there was that the dopamine hit that my brain would have got from cigarettes and alcohol, I needed to find a replacement. And you do need to put dopamine's something else.
It's like the happy hormone, it's called. Yeah, it gives you that wee buzz, that wee rush.
Reward. Yep. And I still have to manage, I'll probably always have to manage my dopamine, my intensity, my impulsivity. All those parts of me are still there, but it's just not like adding fuel to the fire then with adding alcohol, where they just come out and go like buck wild. I can harness it now, and I can use it to live in a way that is still fun and energetic, but safe.
Yeah. I get, safe for your health, safe for your bank balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Safe for
avoiding that feeling of shame, safe for others.
Fair, yeah, fair.
That didn't want to be dragged into
And a lot of people that feel the same way, and I do hear this all the time in my job, is that people would class that as an addictive personality. Right now, I used to say I was an all in or an all out girl, and I had an addictive personality. That was before I knew that was me just using that as an excuse.
Yeah,
I was using it as an excuse to go wild, or I was using it as an excuse to not make an effort.
It's interesting because
it's fascinating. Fascinating.
So I would say, because one of the things that I do now that I work in a kind of freelance way, is I do training around alcohol, other drugs, cannabis, nicotine, etc. And that question comes up a lot: is this substance addictive? And I'm like, people are addictive. We all have to manage that compulsion. It's just, what does it look like? And I think that, I'm an addictive person. I'm an enthusiastic person. I'm a committed person. I'm an energetic person. And those things can then, like you say, you're all in. So if what we're doing is drinking, I'll do that to the best of my abilities.
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's not, I think addiction can be, because addiction implies you're not in control.
It's a word that's bandied about quite a lot.
And how does someone who clearly is addicted to a substance seek that control back? And it's hard, obviously, and particularly depending on substance, it really, really varies, and there's a whole spectrum of it, etc. But yeah, it's like, how do you keep the best bits of you? Because there's an identity shift, becoming someone that's sober. We as a society therefore think boring. I've never been so exciting. As a person, I've never been so fucking interesting, because I'm alert and I'm awake, and it's not just that you'll get me zooming about at 3 a.m. on a Friday night. You can have me all week.
You're like that all the time.
I don't then take a big
just without the chaos.
So but it's interesting, that bit around, that's just me. But there's a lot of things we just repeat that I think are being
we do, and we're very good also at making excuses for ourselves, and I think listening to our own bullshit.
And telling your own story, that your own narrative, that's your rationale and excuse and reason, and I'm like this or I'm like that. And I get that, and sometimes there's a wee bit of that helps you to start to make the change, because you can write that permission slip, like that thing I told myself in the first 4 weeks: one job, don't drink, don't smoke. It was so freeing then that I was like, right, well, anything that stops you from doing that is good. And in those 4 weeks it was. But imagine that had left untainted. Amazon would have nothing left. And I wouldn't have been able to get up to answer the door for it. I'd be bedridden with obesity. I got to 17 stone 4. Although I've realised recently I probably shouldn't say that figure, because the height, weight, there's so many variables, but I had a very high BMI. I was morbidly obese. So rather than quote a figure that might be somebody else's figure that they're perfectly happy with, it wasn't good at my height, etc. health. It wasn't good for my health to get to that weight. And that was the February after it. So 3 months after stopping drinking, I finally stood on the scales and thought, and I was at previous highest weight I'd ever been, and it was time to just chip away gradually at that, to give me health back, to get the full benefits of not drinking. But also,
did you feel not in control at any point with the food or with the shopping?
Aye, probably, yeah, particularly the food, really. The shopping was interesting because I genuinely had neglected purchases for self, because my budget was fags and alcohol. Not entirely, but the bit for me of my budget. So I bought things like skin cream, things sensory stuff, didn't build a ball pit or anything, but like as in hand creams, candles, bubble baths, like
nice
things, and makeup. I hadn't bothered with makeup for years, and I'd needed a new hairdryer, and so it was sort of reasonable to restock yourself, and I had extra funds from not drinking, so that bit wasn't. It was just very regular that the Amazon man was ding dong, but the food, probably was out of control. As in, once you pop, you can't stop. Type stuff. Yeah.
How much were you spending on cigarettes and alcohol, roughly? When was that? When was that? 2000. When did you stop? 2017, 2018. So before that.
Well, fags weren't cheap. I can't actually remember.
When I stopped smoking in June, I think when I got married, Cal will be listening to this and he'll be like, for fuck's sake, Canis. June 2018, I'd stopped smoking Marlboro because Marlboro had went to to over £10 a packet. I was smoking Mayfair, and I think they were about £9.60.
Yeah, I probably was about the same. I didn't smoke as much midweek as I would at the weekends, but I could get through. It was menthol cigarettes I smoked. That was before the ban on them came in.
The equivalent of, was it the equivalent of 20 a day?
Aye, probably over the week, So it was the money thing's sore because obviously I have children, so that's a difficult thing. You're like, like funds that, I mean, they've no wanted for anything, they're fine.
No, I know.
But you feel that's like a parental guilt that, like, we didn't go on a foreign holiday, and if I'd not smoked. Funnily enough, one of the first things we did was I took them to France because I had additional funds and budget. So, but that is kind of like a, oh God, I spent that money on frivolous stuff that was harmful.
I don't have kids, and I'm like, I've no idea I've just no idea how I afforded it.
Aye, it's weird.
It is weird because
that kind of leans in a positive way though, because when life evolved and onward I went, and this gradual journey on changing my exercise. So the first thing I did was yoga, then it was like the Les Mills type classes, regular walking, then Les Mills. Like I started building in this actually moving for the first time ever. So as that gradual journey went on, it got to a point where you could evaluate your life and see more clearly. See, when it came time for me to leave my job, my permanent post in teaching, the job that I'd worked so hard at, and etc., to take that jump, to just cut off permanent employment, pension, all of that, there was a bit of the same belief as you always just find a way. So seeing the way that there was always money for fags and booze.
You always find the money, there's always a way.
It'll be fine. Like you always could. I could always fund that social life, and my children were well dressed and had what they needed and didn't feel neglected. And you managed somehow. I do wonder, there is stuff about people who live that lifestyle, that kind of chaotic type way, but there's parts you can take out of that to be brave.
Good parts.
I think
of course. I actually, one of my clients commented in my app the other day about she was having a total stress attack, and I'd said back to her, you always worry, but you always figure it out. And I think sometimes the instinctive response is just to panic, when it's just sometimes you just need to let go.
And not overthink
it, not overreact, just
that was really important in terms of beating a craving, was just jump into the moment. As in, do you need that right now? No, particularly for a cigarette, when the craving was quite physical, it was like a taste in my mouth, and it was quite a strong craving. And it's that once I realised it only actually lasts about half an hour, I'd sometimes tell myself, well, you can absolutely have it in half an hour. Like, that freedom of choice was important, that it didn't feel too restrictive. But in half an hour, I'd managed to beat the craving and put my values back in front of me. Like, what is it you really want? Right now, I just want a fag. But actually, long term, I want to be a non-smoker. So I have to pick that identity. I have to pick the bigger picture. But in the moment, I just need to focus on, have you got everything you need right now? That definitely, breathwork stuff.
You said that, and so when we did the recording and you were speaking about giving up, I remember you saying that you need to play it forward. So you used to come home on a Friday night, fair work, have macaroni.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, macaroni. And then that would be the time that you would go and get ready and go out.
No, so it used to be
There was
that,
something about
yeah,
you picturing
Uh-huh.
what your, like sliding doors, your Saturday would look like this
Aye.
if you went out tonight, your
Yeah.
Saturday would look like this if you didn't go out
learn
tonight.
and
Yeah, tell that.
do that. So that was really a really useful tool. So on a say stressful week, right? School work finishes Friday like 3:30. You wind everyone up about 4. My husband would finish work at 4. We were kid free at that point every second weekend. So we would encourage each other, like, we just go straight to the pub.
Of course you would.
So it
yeah.
was like straight to the pub. It was doing
Right, okay.
like, and when like it was just that, oh, we'll go have a few pints, we'll grab something to eat, and then it just spiraled for there. But I went, once I realised playing forward that first decision, like that sliding doors moment.
Yep.
So go home, have a macaroni, your body will go into rest and digest mode. You could eat something more healthy and not macaroni.
But that's okay, that's
any
okay.
sort
We're
of,
like, yep.
stodgy-ish meal. And then you're in a better place to make that decision than when you're just rattling from that stressful Friday, that, or sometimes what was quite exciting and fun because it was stressful. So you were hyped up, and then you would just go into that straight in feet without touching the ground, and ungrinded, totally ungrinded, right up in the head, not in the body, not making cognizant decisions, but just that whirl. I could sometimes feel it almost like a kind of like, and it would start off, and it just wasn't a good thing to do without touching base, ground yourself.
Because the adrenaline kicks in and then you're carried along, then everybody else is there, and it's
exciting, and you're feeling like you're shattered.
Yeah.
But you're somehow feeling like totally wired. Put your 2 feet on the ground, put your hands on your knees out here, or take a big deep breath, get into your body, remember who you are, where are you going, what do you really need, and play forward both options. So the straight to the pub option was always going to go tits. Clearly,
of course it was.
Because everybody that was going, should we? Like 1 or 2, bullshit.
Yeah.
But the go home, check in, not the go home and just sit, because that isn't very appealing. Go home, have something to eat, chill, have a bath, see how you feel. Play forward, getting into bed about 10. Play forward, waking up at 6:30 in the morning in your own skin, without fear, comfortable in your own skin. Like, look at, peeking your eyes open, going, what? Oh, we're all right. Do you know, everything's good here?
Yeah.
I'm fresh. I can
no heart
honour the
palpitations,
day.
none of the fear, no waking up on the bathroom floor or stepping over bodies or wondering what the fuck did I do last night, or
that freedom of, I'm still in alignment. It's cheesy language, but it's very true. What are my values about how you live? And therefore, by sticking with my values, it's brought me this enhanced freedom. So the moment of freedom was not truly freedom, it was a trap. I've got this whole theory. I think we've been quite conditioned to believe it's freedom, because I think that might just suit the folks that are in charge a wee bit.
Absolutely.
But I think that bit where what we think and what we've been taught is relaxation or a breather, it's a false, it's smokes and mirrors, it's the opposite, really. And I think people think living without alcohol is a restricted approach, and I would totally argue the opposite, that it's a massively freeing, opening, exciting choice.
Whereas doing the same thing on a Friday night, finishing your work, going straight to the pub, carrying it on over to the Saturday, that's restrictive. I'm not even just speaking about alcohol, I'm speaking about any situation, anything that you get yourself tied into, that you always do this, we're always that person, blah, 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 even though you wake up the next day and you think, Jesus Christ, I've done it again. It's restrictive, of course it is. You're just following, you're just to be hamstering a wheel.
And you can't make progress. So the progresses that I've made is like that, nudging things forward. Like the weight loss is quite a good, like, evidence, like data.
It's physical for people as well, though. People can physically see even though they can't see you stopping drinking alcohol, they can see that you look entirely different.
And there's scores in the doors for that. It's measurable. That went up to the named it the 17.4, got down to about 15 stone, sat there for ages with like improvements in health. It was yoga, it was walking, it was Les Mills, and it was CrossFit. CrossFit's probably maxed out now. Like that's me for life. I'm in.
There's absolutely.
No need to go like anywhere else. No. Now I found the thing that actually makes you fit and changes your body. But then I got down to about 13 around the time I had a surgery in November 23. I had a tumour behind my ear, which was benign. We didn't actually know that because the biopsy failed, so it was like but 80% of the tumours that are there are usually okay and non-cancerous. So I was, but obviously you did 20% are cancerous and we couldn't be sure, so you did have that going on during 2023. But I got my weight down further, probably because I was like, surgery, want to be healthy after, etc. So I was really mindful of my diet going into that, and I knew I'd be less active coming out of surgery for a wee while, so I wanted to think about calories in versus just exercise. So that got me down to about 13. After surgery, to get it out, my facial nerve had to be damaged, and I was really lucky I didn't lose like facial expression. I was worried about that more than cancer. I was probably worried about that because I have already got weird facial expressions. They'd look even bloody weirder if happened.
No idea what you're talking about.
I know. So I was like, phew, when I woke up. But it was damaged. This bit it's still sensitive. It feels weird. I don't really like touching it, and it sort of burns with stress. So when I returned to work after surgery to this big demanding job that I did, working like in an additional support centre, additional needs, lots of challenge, lots of people that were stressed, young people that were just, having a moment, etc. And whenever something high end was happening, I could just feel that sort of burning and pulsing in my face. So it shone a light on living with quite high levels of cortisol throughout the working day. I had to carry a radio, there was bells, whistles, it was always, you were always on the go. It was high end stuff, which I'd managed for a long time. I'd always had that type of job. But where I used to communicate calmness, I now became a little flinchy because, of course, I had a scar and I had a face that felt different. So there was a lot of pondering had to come about making a change, because it wasn't right for the workplace, it wasn't right for the young people, and it wasn't right for me. Like, I'm saying those things first because it matters and it's important. But I realised my capacity's changed. This isn't good. Nobody was going to sack me or nobody was criticising me, but I knew it wasn't right. So a change had to be made. But if I still drank, I don't know if I'd had that clarity. And then I resigned from my role without a totally clear plan about what I was going to do next. I had ideas of what I would do next. I trained to be...
How long had you been sober at this point?
Oh, like 5 years.
Right, okay, so a hefty amount of time.
Yeah. So like, this is the bit about the cumulative benefits of sobriety that are like evidence, like evidential, like you can see. So there's the weight loss, then there's the like opening up opportunities of life change, so that idea of leaving like a permanent promoted teaching post
with a steady income, a steady salary, a pension, etc.
Just cutting all that off to jump. I felt like I was skydiving into the unknown, but not in a impulsively stupid way, in a brave enough to make a change,
not in a scared way.
A measured way with clarity of thought and without the risk of no getting up on a Monday and doing the working from home thing because I was hammered at the weekend. I would never have coped with the lack of structure if I still drank. I wouldn't have been able to have I don't really like the term self-discipline because I don't believe in self-discipline or motivation. I believe in things becoming quite automated, that you just build in a pattern and then you don't need to think about it and it's easy, so changes kind of comes that way. But I wouldn't have had the structure around me to be able to...
You wouldn't have just got up and sat at your desk and did all your work or whatever.
No, and pushed myself, because initially when I left teaching, the plan was independent funeral celebrant, so I did the training for that. I've done several funerals, really enjoy it. Also did my coaching diploma in terms of like career coaching, life coaching, people making changes coaching, which fits with obviously the journey I feel I've been on. But then I've actually ended up doing freelance work for an organisation regarding alcohol education, and it's like, who knew I'd find that? So it was that sort of like tip yourself out into the world where you've got options, and then just it'll come. Really lucky I can do supply teaching. Really lucky I love supply teaching. So that's been a massive, in terms of just tipping yourself into like unemployment or self-employment.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a buffer.
A huge I'm really extremely grateful for my teaching career, that I can, even now that I've chosen to leave it, in a sense, I've still got a whole foot in the door, And I love going back to my old school, see my colleagues, young people. It's energising, it's great. Like, I'm blessed for that, definitely. So yeah, you need part of a plan. You can't just do crazy things.
No.
Being able to make changes, and probably CrossFit's the last thing.
Yeah, so just before we speak about CrossFit, because that could actually be the rest of the podcast, opportunities always present themselves.
Yeah.
When you take that first leap.
And I really believe in make space, and what you need will come. Get rid of what's not serving you.
Also a massive believer in that.
And then you'll meet the right people, the right things will. What's not serving you is panic, anxiety and worry. What's not serving you is drinking hundreds of booze and smoking loads of fags. Everybody will know. It could be their marriage, the relationship, the person you live with. I've had those situations as well.
100%, me too.
Make massive changes there.
Yep.
Who's around you, your friendship groups, the stuff you see online, that your influence. Like, I don't watch the news. I just trust that my husband will tell me if we need to build a bunker out the back.
Absolutely. Because
it doesn't serve me, it's unhelpful. No. You
don't spend hours scrolling on social media comparing yourself to what you used to be, or comparing yourself to everybody else, or thinking how have they got that and I don't. That doesn't serve anybody.
Make space and then move forward. And you don't need to know exactly what the thing's going to be. You just need to know who are you and what matters.
Yeah.
And since I stopped drinking, I wasted so many hours of my life out there drinking, talking shite, having a laugh to a degree, yeah, but talking, just wasted. I had so much energy, and I just did not take it to the right places, the right people. And I don't mean those were the wrong people, that's not fair, but I just mean I wasn't taking it anywhere. It was just empty, vacuous energies, all like causing a bit of chaos. Once I realised that it does matter what you do with yourself, what a difference.
It's about your whole environment, isn't it, as well? And I think, personally, we're in way more control than we think we are, or we have way more. And I know we've just spoke about not having to control everything, and not having, like, don't leave your job and think, right, this is what's going to happen in these steps, because nothing's linear.
But it's nothing's
linear.
You can control the wee things.
Absolutely, and we can change so much more than we believe that we can. And I think it's fear of the unknown
and obligation
that stops us.
People are really...
I totally had this conversation with somebody the other day, actually.
You don't have to do anything.
They're apprehensive about going out with a social group that they used to drink hard and fast with, and they're now apprehensive about going out with them because that group of people expect them to drink.
So do you know what? My sobriety became like a baby, right? It became like my sobriety was my baby, and I had to protect it. So therefore that made it really easy to no as a complete sentence. Like, I won't do anything out of obligation. No one's ever going to invite me on a hen night because I'd rather fucking die. But people know that, and would never, even when I did drink, I didn't like that kind of thing. So you're not obligated. Look after yourself, protect yourself like you would, like I use like baby or child,
the baby.
Or
no, that's a
puppy
good.
Or daughter.
That's a good thing.
What would you look after, like your younger self? Do you know how would you take care of and keep safe? So because I've now know how much your energy matters after wasting it for years, I just won't give it out in a place where it's not going to be selfishly of benefit to me and mine, or
appreciated.
I don't, which means it's a different way of living, do you know? But I don't think that we're so worried there's all these societal expectations and you must do this and you must do... No, you didn't. You don't have to do anything. Make sure that you're protecting yourself in terms of where you go and what you do. And if you don't want to, don't go. It doesn't matter what it is.
And no, or no thank you.
You don't need to say why.
That's a complete sentence. You don't have to go down the no because, just no. And no thanks, Steph, answer, end of.
You will still have friends.
Oh, I've still got friends, and I hardly drink anymore. My whole social circle has changed. You've still got friends. funnily enough, which leads me on to, we had a joke this morning that I was slagging somebody off because they brought a friend to CrossFit, and then somebody said to me as the coach, do you have friends? And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm standing right in front of them, right now, my CrossFit friends. Anyway, how life-changing has CrossFit been?
Oh, 100%. So honestly, I can get, it's weird because I can get almost a little frustrated and angry at how many years I spent doing exercise that wasn't unhelpful. Of course it wasn't.
Anything's better
good.
than nothing.
It was
of
good.
course,
It wasn't for weight loss even at the time. I was just like, just move. It was part of a journey. It had to be in that incremental way. But I wish I hadn't spent so long doing something that doesn't actually bring you forward. And I think we're sold a bit of the fitness industry will just sell people something that they can turn up to without challenge.
Absolutely.
I get angry that the first time I ever got my range of motion corrected was in my first week of CrossFit, but I'd spent years thinking I was squatting and lunging, and I wasn't squatting and lunging. And now when I see, like on Insta, and I see folk not moving, I just want to say, please tell those ladies to get below parallel, because all I needed to do was to be told. It wasn't that I couldn't. I absolutely could.
No, you just
Some folk maybe don't. I'm lucky I did have the range of motion, but I just, there's challenge, there's reward. It's so cerebral, so it changes all the time. It absolutely suits that addictive personality, or that drive, or that where do you put your energies. It's sociable, like in the sense of that I do well when I'm doing things alongside others. That helps me to stay focused. I can struggle sometimes to be focused and get stuff done, potentially, just the way that my brain's wired. But whereas when that is what you're being coached, and the level of feedback and coaching that you get in CrossFit is, I actually just am like frustrated that anything else out there even exists for people, because I'm like, why are you not doing CrossFit? You're working so hard there.
I think everybody should do CrossFit, but I try not to shove that down people's throats, to be fair. But
I'm still in the newbie phase, so it is the methodology. Like when you look more deeply into it, which probably most folk do, but the way I'm wired is that I do, and there is this like sort of like, I'm hooked on this. But if you're going to hook yourself into anything, then, because in terms of how much my body's changed, not like the fat loss probably more comes from sorting the diet than the CrossFit.
Of course, absolutely. You can't out-train a bad diet, everybody.
Like, because I could have done CrossFit and stayed at my weight. I'm sure I could have. But what I can't get over is like the adaptation, like that there's, because folk keep saying, oh, do you know how folk are being kind, but like, oh, you're so skinny, you're wasting away. And I'm like, nope. And I will physically say, no, strong. Like I went to a works thing last week, and people hadn't seen me for ages because we all work across the UK remotely. I'm the only one in Scotland. But I was totally like, strong, feel this. I was like, no, I don't want anybody thinking that I'm wasting away, because I am building my body for my 80-year-old self.
Absolutely.
So when I fall down, I can get
yourself back up.
That's the push-ups. The burpees are for 80-year-old Ailsa, who I vision myself living alone, which is a bit of a shame because my husband's younger than me. I'm not saying he's not going to make it, but probably just because my gran lived alone at that age.
Right, okay.
So,
you've justified that. That's fine.
Maybe I'll be having to lift him up out his bed.
Maybe, yeah.
But it's that bit about, it's not about living longer, it's just about living well. And I can't believe in 2026 that we've still got folk lifting like 1 kilogram pint weights, and you're like, oh, like women need to lift heavy, and they need the respect of being held to standard. There's been a lot of debate after the Open online about no repping folk that are trying hard, and I'm like, no rep. I don't care if you're no rep and you're 70-year-old granny. Like
black and white,
because it is that you've got respect for that athlete at their level, that they'll perform the full range of motion to the best of their ability. And then it would be scaling, or like adaptive athletes. If someone cannot get below parallel, then you put something in that makes it their record.
That's why they introduced the foundation level. So you only ever used to get RX and scaled. There was never a foundation level. So it's not, that's why CrossFit have introduced that.
Like there's no fear of having, no one should be scared of, but I can't. If you can't, then that is absolutely different. But most folk can, but just haven't been shown better or different. And it's about the standards, particularly for women. I feel really, really passionate about women feeling like they can own a space and and lift heavy, and because we're turning over lots of cultural conditioning there over years of.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, ladies didn't do.
Yeah.
They were never in the free weight section. When there was
Yeah.
just commercial gyms, ladies were never in the free weight section. They never picked up a barbell. They never went and got a dumbbell off the rack, because it was just mirrors and guys with muscles and vests and nipples and all that malarkey. So, yeah, well, I've got my ladies that lift, so you know that. Do you know what I mean? You know what my thoughts are about getting women into the gym, but yeah.
And having respect to give that corrective feedback in a supportive way, that every time someone achieves a goal, it's what's next, how can I be better? And that's okay. It's not, that's not negative criticism. It's this endless journey of striving towards being able to move well and to feel good and to build a body that will last you. I'm obviously particularly up on that because I did chuck away the permanent job and the pension, and because I think that job would have long term killed me, because there was high levels of toxic stress, and I just could never have done it into my 60s. That's mind blowing. I would have been on my knees,
and drinking.
If I hadn't stopped. So I know that I've spent quite a chunk of my time doing adverse health things, so I'm playing catch up here in terms of I now need to make the second half of my life particularly good if I'm going to salvage my old age.
Yeah, the second half of your life needs to be above average,
because the first half was below.
I would agree with that. And again, Ailsa, you know my thoughts on midlife, you know my thoughts on women, on midlife women, the perimenopause, the menopause, everything that you can do up to that is going to help you get through that easier. And everything that you do before that and from there on is, I believe, the best time of your life.
Yeah, aye.
100%.
It's freeing.
Yeah, we've got over that insecure and we're just at the zero fucks.
Yeah. And
like you said about the baby, I love that. That's really good, actually. I'm going to steal that. Never thought about that, because I do always go on about, protect you, protect your time, protect what's important to you, ditch everything else that doesn't serve you. But the fact about the baby and stuff, I think the fact about the baby and stuff is good.
The identity part of I am sober, I don't drink. I find that not everybody would want to have that and wear the t-shirt, but it helped me because it gave me a thing to protect. And I know I need to not be hungry, but not now. Now I just don't drink.
But not be hungry. I hate being hungry. That's like the worst feeling ever.
Where could I derail? Hunger, tired, too much stress, wrong influence. Like, I learned my triggers to keep myself sober, but actually now it's not to keep myself sober, because that's not something I have to work at anymore. It's those are just the things that keep me balanced and happy and calm and doing well. Like, they're just the things that keep me.
When you said earlier, when you first gave up drinking, you still went out, you still get your makeup done, you still went partying, you still stayed out till 3 o'clock in the morning, you just didn't drink. Do you not do that anymore? So you don't do that anymore because you've got a fear of drinking, because you haven't. You'll literally never drink again. No. You just don't do that anymore because it doesn't serve the lifestyle that you want.
You can still feel rough the next day.
Absolutely.
Like, even if you've no drank, just from the staying up. So bedtime matters.
The staying up, and maybe if I have a couple of sugary, sugary mocktails, it's like a sugar hangover. It's like horrific. And you just feel sluggish and lethargic, and it just makes you eat shit the next day.
And I just don't want that. I want to wake up. I like getting up early. I go to the gym early. So that bit is where I want to be. So it's certainly not like a lack of. And I say to my teenage daughter, nothing good ever happens after 10 o'clock at night. And I really do believe that to be mostly true, when we were in London last week for the work trip, and the dinner was originally booked for 7:30, and when I realised that, I was like, oh, that's so late to be eating a big meal. I'm like, I'll no sleep. And that way we did bring it forward a wee bit. But it's not about not being sociable or not wanting to do things or not wanting to spend time with people, but it just evolves and changes. I cleared space and new stuff came in, and then that fills space. So it kind of works in two ways. So if you're filled with the good stuff, you won't end up then, I'm not going to be out at 3 a.m, because on a Sunday I'm going to CrossFit at 9, and that's where I want to be. So it's that
playing it forward again, though, isn't it?
Exactly. What do you want to be? But you don't exactly need to know that. You can use that to sort of keep you living the way that makes you feel happy and balanced and less moody. My teenagers would say, Mum, you just don't crash out anymore. And it's like, it's so that a lot of that will be about changing my job. Because I'm around more and I'm much, I mean, in school now when I'm doing supply, I'm just having this lovely time with the kids. And they're like, oh, Miss, you're a great sub. And it's like, because I'm a sub, because I don't have all the stresses that your daily teachers do. So like I'm in a good mood and I'm pleased to see you. But I don't have anything else to worry about, So it's that bit where it's kind of invaluable.
Yeah. And what about like just what you've said there just now, that you're like, you don't have anything else to worry about and you're pleased to see them, but also is there an element of, because you're not thinking about when your next drink will be, or you're not thinking about if you can get out for a cigarette?
Yeah, actually,
because I found that when I smoked, that took up a lot. I was never 100% in the moment, because I was thinking about 10 minutes and I can have a cigarette, or I'm going to have a bottle of wine the night or whatever. Do you know? So I think it took you out the present quite a lot.
Yeah, and it made you prioritise wrongly. There's decisions that I made, like there's one that always makes me sad. It was like a Christmas, and I'd booked the wheel. There was a Santa on the boat at the wheel, and then there was also like a works night out, and I was doing the Santa thing with my two wee children at the time, but then my mum offered to babysit, and I was like, oh well, and there's this photo that comes down at the loft every year of them on the boat. Oh, it makes me cry.
And you're not there.
And I went the night out, and the night out was pointless, really. Do you know?
Yeah.
But what was it that made me change my decision? And it would have been thirst for a drink and a fag, and but also it was probably for that wee moment of escapism, but that we've spoken about earlier, actually just sort of traps you. But if you build a life you don't need to escape from, you don't need a respite from the life you want. So I always would prioritise my daily happiness over bust and boom. I'm not into I don't want to splurge at Christmas, really. I don't want to splurge on a holiday and live. I just want to each day to be the good day and have the pattern throughout the year, rather than the boom to bust effect that we've been conditioned from a marketing point of view.
Absolutely.
Slow capitalism wants us to live like paupers and then go tits, and it is not, doesn't work for me.
No. And again, it rolls over into fat loss, it rolls over into exercise as well. If you can be consistent over a year and look after yourself all year, you will get more reward than going hell for leather for 3 weeks and then crashing and burning, because your life will literally end up like that, whereas we want... And a lot of people would portray that as boring, and it's not. It's actually getting the best out of every single day that you're alive, instead of having a shit 50 years to lie on a hot beach in the Maldives for 2 weeks of the year. Like, why? Why?
But we've been kind of sold a dummy.
Absolutely.
Around that we should want those things. I know. I must admit, like, when I think, that makes me, one of the biggest things about sobriety is the absolute, like, joy that comes with it. And, like, there's moments of absolute overwhelming sense of well-being and joy living like that, that isn't boring at all. It's like the world comes back into colour. And the early stages of sobriety are the biggest high I've ever had in my life, ironically, because I lived in the grey and the colour came back in, and I could smell things and taste things and see things and notice things
and feel things.
The feelings flooded back. And the dreams, like, because you don't get REM sleep so you're not processing your emotions when you drink. Even small amounts of alcohol wrecks your REM sleep. So that backlog of emotional processing, colourful. Some of the dreams were a bit whoa, but it was my brain recalibrating itself and seeking that equilibrium from having been out of balance. But the benefits are untold. I would have everybody converted if I could.
But on that note, just as a final wee word, if there was people listening to this, midlife ladies listening to this, and they're aware that the relationship with alcohol is not benefiting them, and they're maybe drinking a bit too much, and they know that they're drinking a bit too much, what would you say to them? Any top tips and bits of advice?
I would say, first, most important thing is write yourself that permission slip not to feel shameful. It absolutely is a substance, not you. Like, when I read into alcohol, I realised okay, it's the Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. It's not a moderate. But of course, slogans like "drink responsibly" that are alcohol industry
They're
funded
just shifting the responsibility.
are conditioning it. So I think the very first thing would be make sure, not forgive yourself, that's too dramatic, but write up a be kind to yourself about this. Like, it is absolutely textbook that's happened. Of course it has. It gets a hold, and that is absolutely fine. But don't dinghy it. You know, if you're in the pre-contemplative stage, keep that ticking, keep that coming. Let those thoughts. Probably, I didn't specifically reach out to anyone. But that probably isn't a bad idea. Do you know, like, as in, voice it. It's a taboo thing. I speak about it freely now. I wish I'd spoken about it more freely then. But it's shame, really wrapped up in shame, and being scared to make a big commitment. You don't have to make a big commitment. That did work for me, to say, no, it's going in the bin, I'm done. And I made it a thing that I wanted to be excited about. That worked for me, but I could imagine that might be too much. I'm quite a too much person.
For a lot of people, it might be, I'm only going to have a drink on a Friday night and not a Friday and a Saturday night. To start with, it's about finding
toes in the water.
Yeah. It's like any exercise is better than none.
Yes.
So any cutting back of the alcohol is better than not cutting back.
Yeah.
And you're right. I would probably go all in. Like you, I would, but it's for each.
Not to say that there weren't relapses, because there were.
No.
I knew what they were.
Yeah.
Do you know, it was like that, because I'll always keep my sober date, but it was 6 times I drank after that date, but they were testing, they were trialing. I tried moderation. It's too difficult to manage.
You said that before, actually. It takes up too much brain space, and it's Russian roulette. Yeah.
Like 3 times worked, 3 times didn't. I was like, that's not good at all. So,
no.
50-50 chance.
No.
So I suppose, first off, kindness to self. Write a permission slip that this is absolutely, it is not you, it is the thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to become you. You know, it's like, you don't need the thing. You can absolutely live different. And it's a long journey, but always constantly rewarding in terms of the shifts and changes you can make. It's interesting. I do wonder, if you open up the world into colour, there's a risk you're going to see other things then that you need to shift, you know, and that sometimes might be part of the blocker for someone out there deciding,
that can be overwhelming.
If I stop drinking, I'm going to realise I hate my husband.
Yeah.
I love my husband. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
But that, when he still drank and I didn't, that it wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
And we're lucky we're still together, given how much we've changed how we live. But it could be that other things might come from it, but don't be scared by that. Do you know, it's like, in good time with support, it's absolutely worth it. Because,
I'm going to batter my dog, by the way. He's on the kitchen table, and me and Ailsa's just trying to ignore him, and I'm like ready to explode. Anyway, any final words?
No, I think Jasper's decided that's enough chat.
That's the end of the podcast. So this was part 2, my lovelies. All right. On that note, myself and Ailsa are both coaches. We're both going to be coaching midlife women on change. I will put the link to the form in our show notes for this podcast. And if you've got any questions, then you can contact myself or Ailsa. Yeah, we're both on Instagram, and I'll put the website links as well. All right. But thank you.
No, thanks for having me.
Honestly, we tried to do this in one session and we spoke for an hour and 40 minutes just on the giving up the alcohol. So thank you. It's appreciated.
Cheers.
All right, my lovelies. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.